Hello everyone and welcome to the Very Reasonable Pilots Podcast. I'm your host, Charles Long, and with me as always is my co-host, Jake Loth. How are you doing today, Jake?
Doing alright. How about yourself, Charles?
I'm doing okay. So, do you have a pitch for me?
No, I don't.
To hear? Okay, should I go use the bathroom and then come right back and see if you have a pitch then?
See, he's making a joke because earlier he went to the bathroom and
that took a long
it was so long, in fact, that when he left for the bathroom, I didn't have a pitch, and I was like, damn, this is not good. I'm just gonna have to make him use one of his ideas. And then I was like, I guess I could write it now while he's in the bathroom and see how far I can get, and then maybe you can help me out. But he took so long that by the time he got back, I not only finished it, but I finished it and just started waiting for him to come back.
Yeah, and it was very long. It was a long bathroom.
Were you all right?
Was
your butt okay?
It was long. It's as long as my arm. It was bad.
Hey, tired? Cheeks?
No,
Warm,
it was. I
sore.
just, not
Withered.
sore. It wasn't a lot. It was just it takes some time.
Okay.
I'm a stressed person, so I have those little rabbit poops because I'm so stressed all the time.
Okay, well, there's no rabbit poops in my story. Well, I guess there could be if you want to toss them in. But see, I saw Memento recently, and spoilers for a movie that came out in like 2000, I don't know, like 3 or something, maybe like 1999. I don't remember when this movie came out. But
oh no,
have you seen it, Charlie? You haven't seen Memento?
But I know what happens
in it. Of
in
course you did. You probably watched like a YouTube video that gave you all the answers.
I watched a YouTube video on every movie ever
Okay.
made.
Well, basically, Memento is this movie about a detective that loses his memory all the time, and he's trying to solve a case. And really, the case
he's played by Guy
he is.
And he's got the Finding Dory thing. He's finding Dories.
Yeah. He forgets every couple minutes. He
Brooklyn
forgets.
Nine-Nine.
Yeah. They do a spin-off episode where it's like, what is it, Pimento, and they like Pimento.
He doesn't know Memento.
Yeah, but he doesn't know the movie Memento.
Which is fun. He only knows Finding Dory, so it makes perfect fucking sense. Also, oh shit, I didn't know it had the chick from the Matrix, Carrie Ann Moss. Also, she's in Jessica Jones. Oh yeah, she's the lawyer, the evil lawyer who buys the magic fetus at the end of the first season, I think.
Okay, so I looked at that story of
that
Memento,
part?
right? And the movie ends with him. It's all about really him lying to himself. The whole movie is him. Yeah. He made up this whole case because he already solved it a while ago. And
wasn't it him?
What? No, he didn't kill his wife.
Who killed his wife? Was it Gary Oldman?
Some guy that he killed like forever ago. He killed the guy that killed his wife forever ago, and he's been going around killing John G's for this cop guy forever, who like is sort of using him to kill people with the name John and last name G.
Why?
That he needs dead, or he like pretends that their name's John G or something. Just like so, this cop's using him to kill people, and he's a killer that like he forgets it that he killed this person, so he has no remorse. He doesn't feel sad. He's not conflicted because he forgot. Yeah. And so the movie ends with the way it began, because it's not told linearly. With the main character, he like writes down the cop's name on his arm, and he's like the whole movie was him going after the cop that has been messing with him. Because he needs this story to keep him going, that he's trying to revenge his wife. And there's not really that much of a connection. I didn't avenge his wife.
No, he's trying to revenge her.
Revenger.
He's the revenger.
So that the whole thing, I didn't think I was going to have to explain the whole movie, but I did.
Why?
It's not entirely related, but it's the idea that of lying to yourself until you believe the truth is sort of what I went with my story. So we've got the story of a journalist who's investigating a story about a government official who killed her husband.
Okay.
So we have Jared Rellik, who is our journalist. He is shy.
Rellik?
R-E-L-L-I-K.
Okay. I like it. I like that name. Jared Rellik.
Jared
Rellik.
So he's shy. He's hardworking. He has frequent mood swings. He's angry. Dedicated to his work. He's a freelance journalist who got fired from his job for not dropping this story.
He got fired from BuzzFeed News for not dropping the story.
Nah, I wrote down I think it's like the Daily Trumpet or something. I don't know. I was trying to think of a generic news name.
That is a generic news name if I've ever heard one.
Daily Trumpet. Yeah, originally I was like the Daily Bugle, and I was like, fuck, somebody took that, didn't they?
Fucking J. Jonah Jameson, the son of a bitch.
Yeah, nah, it's actually in the Spider-Man universe.
See, now that'd
be cool. No. And so, the whole first season, and the first episode, actually, I guess I'll start with. The first episode is him being fired from his job at the Daily Trumpet and beginning to work on the case himself. And so, that's sort of like the moment where you're behind the character 100%. Yeah. Because all you're being shown is evidence that he saw this murder. People are trying to suppress it and trying to hide it. Because the whole movie or the whole story you're being told from his perspective at that point. And he has a best friend. His name's George Trapp. And
George Trapp?
George Trapp.
Oh, is that name some sort of hint towards the reality of the story?
No, I just took the first and last name of two friends I've had in like elementary school.
You knew a guy whose last name was Trapp?
Yeah, Trapp.
Fair enough. I know a guy whose last name was Butt. Butt. Like, actually. Felt bad for him.
That's pretty funny.
I mean,
yeah.
It was middle school. It was elementary school, so. And he was bigger than everybody else.
That's a shame. Oh, he's bigger than everyone else.
So nobody made fun of him.
If he was a little kid, he would
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So done. So, George Trapp believes Jared. He's the only one that believes him in the first episode, and he's helping him out with the case. They're sort of like a dynamic duo of investigative reporting.
Is this set in modern times, contemporary fiction?
Yes, modern times, 2000s.
2000s.
People got phones.
2020s.
Stuff. 2000s.
Is it set before the pandemic?
The pandemic is not referenced in this, so
okay, so
it's not important.
So there's no pandemic happening in this world.
No pandemic.
Pandemic. Yes.
I wonder if there's going to be movies afterwards that reference the pandemic.
I mean, probably. There are movies
like you come out with an action movie in the year 2025, and they're like it's just like a throwaway line where they're like, oh, well, I learned this back in the pandemic when I had a bunch of free time.
Yeah, I learned how to suck my own cock back during the pandemic times
not what I was going for. Probably some useful action.
That's useful. Ask Marilyn Manson. That's useful.
Okay, well, the politician, her name's Melinda Welding, and she's just a rich politician with a dead husband.
Who are we basing her on?
That Jared thinks she killed.
Is she more?
Who is she based on?
Yeah, like which politician? Is she a Hillary Clinton type? A Ted Cruz type? Is she a Mitch McConnell type?
Elizabeth Warren. I don't know.
Warren type. She thinks she's Native American.
No, I didn't know Elizabeth Warren thought she was Native American.
Really? That was so big.
I don't remember that.
Okay, well, we'll talk about it after recording. Or we can talk about it now. Elizabeth Warren thinks that she's Native American, and Donald Trump always keeps saying, Pocahontas, or whatever. Keeps calling her Pocahontas.
Oh, I remember that, yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Weird. So, the season is leading up to... so throughout the season, you're going to see Jared investigating the story. And he's trying to figure out a way to prove that Melinda killed her husband. But he can't get any good evidence because it always gets destroyed or something in front of him. And George is slowly losing faith in the case because he keeps seeing more and more evidence that Melinda did not kill her husband.
So, okay. Yeah.
And so the end of season 1 is Jared framing Melinda for the murder of her husband. And he comes out with this big story, and everyone's loving him because they're like, oh, he figured it out. She killed her husband. You're so cool. And then we cut to George, who figures out that Melinda didn't kill her husband.
Oh, shit.
It was George. Or not George, sorry. It was Jared.
Jared.
Jared killed her husband. It's kind of like a Nightcrawler situation where, he kills people or commits crimes and then reports on them.
Well, he doesn't. In Nightcrawler, he's not killing all the people. He
orchestrates the events, right? I haven't seen the movie. I don't know.
No, he doesn't orchestrate the events. This is a movie I've seen. It's a very good movie. In Nightcrawler, he just kind of like, he'll go to a place where a violent crime has happened. I remember this one scene where like a family's been shot or whatever, and he goes in and he films them, and like one of them's still alive, and he's just filming, and then he leaves to go sell the.
That's pretty fucked up.
I mean, yeah, it's Jake Gyllenhaal. He's a fuck.
That doesn't
he's
mean
a
it's gonna be
fucked up
messed up.
guy.
He just plays messed up characters.
And has greasy, messed up hair.
The idea is that Jared commits the crimes, right? And like the character in Memento, well, not unlike the character in Memento, he doesn't have some sort of actual physical disability or mental disability. He just, he believes the lie. So he lies to himself until he believes the lie.
Oh, so he killed the husband?
So he forgets the truth, yeah. So he killed the husband, but he believes that he didn't kill them. Melinda killed the husband because he's told himself in his head so many times.
Did he kill the husband in like a drunken rage or some sort of any substance abuse, or he's like maybe got some sort of mental problems, dissociative personality disorder or something like that?
Well, he obviously has some mental problems, Charlie. He murdered someone.
Well, that doesn't.
He's now trying to believe that he didn't kill the person.
Well, yeah, but there's, is it like something that's going to be hinted at like throughout the season? He's like popping pills to maybe keep himself on the level or something.
I was picturing him a lot like the character in Memento. So he's very like agitated, angry all the time, switches moods constantly.
Mm-hmm. But he doesn't have a memory problem. He's just a silly boy.
Yes. He's a silly boy.
He's just a silly
I don't
boy.
know if I call him a silly boy. He's kind of a messed up person.
He's also a silly boy. He can be two things at once.
I guess, maybe. He could be two things at once.
He's a silly boy, and he's a
maybe he's bipolar. Murderer. Part of him's silly, and part of him's a murderer.
I mean, sure. There's the part that sells that writes the articles, and the parts that makes the news. Yep. If it bleeds, it leads.
And I was thinking throughout the series, you'd slowly hint at that he's actually the killer. There'd be like little bits of evidence that George would discover. George is sort of like the audience's surrogate, like sort of figuring out what actually is happening. Because you're gonna first episode, there's gonna be no very limited hints. You're gonna be 100% behind Jared.
Yeah.
Believe in him. He's gonna be, good hero. You're gonna think this is just like a typical investigative
series,
following this good reporter who got fired from his job just because he was trying to do what mattered.
Yeah, but he actually got fired from his job because he assaulted his boss.
Oh no, he got fired because he's trying to follow a story that doesn't exist, and everyone else is like, "There's no evidence for this, Jared." Like, I don't know what you're trying to say.
I don't know if they would. Yeah, I'm just saying.
If you're an investigative reporter and you follow a story that your editor is like, you can't follow that. Like, there's nothing to it. You have no evidence. There's nothing there. I don't know why you're following this, and then you just continue to follow it against their word. You're gonna get fired. You're ignoring your boss's orders.
Yeah, well, you can work on multiple stories at once, right? You can just be like,
no, but this is his whole life. This is everything.
He's got that big red string stuff. Red string room, straight like he's got.
Yeah, we'll probably have a scene like that with all the things going everywhere, red. But none of it makes sense. It's all, and he'll probably explain it.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll think it's one of those moments in a movie where like it's too complicated for the audience to understand, and he's just really smart. But it's not that. There's no connections between any of it. They're all just like outlandish claims that don't really add up.
She killed her husband because she wanted to get his inheritance because her child is sick, has leukemia, so she needed the inheritance money. It's like, yeah, but he's worth. She wouldn't get the inheritance. The child would get the inheritance or whatever. And it's like, no, but
or he's no money, and then he'd be like, oh, but he actually does have money because his great uncle is married to this person who is married to this person who is actually a lord in England, and so the inheritance is gonna flow all the way down directly to her once he dies.
Or like a bunch of like offshore accounts that he has, like scraps of paper. Like I'm imagining a scene where he like breaks into their house sneakily and is like going through the guy's desk.
Yeah.
While the wife is, off doing some gala or something, and he just finds like a scrap of paper with like 12 numbers written on it, and he's like, "This must be the code to the offshore bank accounts." And it's like, no, that was just, that was his code to get into his Pornhub account or whatever.
There was like a phone number.
Yeah,
or something.
It was like, that's
he wrote down.
That's my masseuse's phone number. That's just
That's my email recovery code.
Yeah, I'm just
just really mundane things.
So, this boy, we think he's a good boy, but at the end we find out he's a bad boy.
Yes.
And then, does he become the villain of the second season?
See, I don't know if I'm gonna get a second season. But yeah.
Because I can imagine.
Get a first season. But the idea is that it would be like George versus Jared, and George is going to try to convince people that it's Jared.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming that Jared is going to turn on George and try to frame him for something.
Maybe the woman shoots herself and Jared frames George for it or something. Why did Jared kill the politician's husband originally?
What?
Like, do we have a reason why?
See, I don't know. I think it should either be just like, oh, he accidentally, or he murders him like accidentally or something, and then he builds the whole story, or he murders him on purpose because he wants a story.
I think that would make the character a little too unlikable. I think you make him like he ran him over by accident. Like,
yeah, and then he sort of just built this whole thing up around
this
that
narrative that he's not a terrible person and he didn't kill an innocent old man and then drive away.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's better, actually.
Well,
I'm thinking that if there is, if I haven't come up with the ideas for the second season, but if I did, or the ideas that are in my head, are something to do with it ending with George and Jared at like sort of a standoffish moment where Jared has framed George for the crime and there's nothing George can do about it.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna go to jail, and he just sort of like in that scene in John Wick. Have you seen John Wick? John Wick 2.
2. I haven't seen 2 in a while. What scene are you trying to?
So in the end of the movie, John Wick 2, John Wick shoots the guy in the hotel, even though he knows he's gonna get in trouble and it's against the rules. It's gonna be like that, He's gonna shoot him anyway.
Okay.
Because he knows it's the right thing to do, even though
he's going to jail.
No one's gonna believe him. No one's gonna believe him.
Yeah.
He's gonna go to the jail for the rest of his life, and he's gonna look like the bad guy, but he really did the right thing.
Mm-hmm. I'm thinking like, you end the season. You could, if that's the end of the first season, right?
Yeah.
So I think you end the season, and you put cuts to black, classic Sopranos style, 2 gunshots. You hear 2 gunshots go off, like bop, bop. Credits play. So you could realistically say if there was no second season, he shot Jared.
Oh wait, no, this is the end of the second season.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and the first season ends with him figuring out that.
Yeah. Okay.
I guess I could do like one really long season, and have halfway through the season be, maybe not even halfway, just like most of the way through the season is George figuring out that it's Jared, and then the end of the season is like what you just said. So them having the standoff, and then it cuts to black. We hear the 2 gunshots,
and then you're like, okay, he could have shot Jared and then himself, or he could have just shot Jared twice. Or he could have just point braked it and put 2 bullets into the air because he loved Jared like a brother and he couldn't bring himself to do it. So you could
never
continue.
Know.
I mean, unless we get a second season. I'm imagining like the second, like if there was a second season, you would get like Jared or George. These names are too similar. We need to change them up.
Jared and George.
Jared and George.
Well, I kind of like Jared, so because Jared sounds kind of like it's not like a good hero name.
No,
it's like not. just off a little bit, which I like.
Yeah,
we get rid
but
of George.
I'm thinking like you could switch the way that the characters interact. So like the first season, Jared's the crazy one with the strings on the fucking walls, and like he's staying up for like 23 hours in a row.
And then you switch and it's George.
And by the end of the first, and like at the beginning of the second season, Jared has his job back at the newspaper. He's the star reporter. he's gonna win the Pulitzer or something. Maybe not the Pulitzer, but like, you know. And this politician, she's being locked away, you know, or she's like, maybe not she's going to jail, but she's like, her entire career's been ruined, and she's just gone off to live in the woods, you know. Not like in a nice house in the woods, not just in like a cave.
No, she committed a murder, supposedly, to the public, so she's probably in jail. That's all I got, to be honest.
Well, I think that sounds like a very good suspenseful television program.
I think I'm going to call it Charlie Was on the Shitter.
That's a good name.
Colon, when I wrote this.
It's like Finding Dory. That's in parentheses. Like Finding Dory.
Kind of like that episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah, you remember.
Semicolon. Memento. Directed by
Comma.
Christopher Nolan.
Comma. Pimento.
Comma, Memento. Not directed by Christopher Nolan.
No, he doesn't want anything to do with us. We asked him, we sent him a letter, and he sent us a cease and desist. And told us that if we didn't stop, he would sue us. But we didn't stop. Exclamation point.
Exclamation point, yeah. Patent pending.
TM. Trademarked. Now that's a title. For a
That's
TV
a good
show.
title.
That's a good title.
That's a good title, yeah. Should I put that whole thing in the title for this episode?
Oh, probably. Yes, I mean, if you can fit it into a thumbnail, go for it.
I'm not going to do that. That would be the whole thumbnail. Would just be that sentence.
Exactly. Maybe we could call it Red String Diaries.
Huh?
Like the Red Shoe Diaries, the Red String Diaries, because this is
Red String Diaries.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe. Also, fun fact. Rellik, the last name for Jared. It's just killer spelled backwards. I was just trying to figure out. Yeah, it's not creative or anything. I just was like, how do I come up with a last name for this guy? Oh, I could just spell what he is backwards.
I guess. Murder. His name's Jared Red Rum.
Yep.
Yeah, I've
No,
seen
that'd
this
be bad.
That'd
Rellik.
be really
Rellik
bad.
sounds like a real last name.
Rellik does sound like a good last name. I like it.
Yep. All right. I'm done. I'm out. I'm leaving. I'm already gone.
Okay. Well, first I have to tell everyone, I have to thank them for listening to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. As always, I've been your host, Charles Lung. And as always, this has been my co-host and editor of the podcast, Jake Law.
Already left.
He's given us a beautiful pitch for the podcast. And I hope you all enjoy it. Tell us if you would watch this show in the comments. Give us a like, subscribe, ring that bell.
Have you ever lied to yourself so much that you think the lie is the truth?
Or have you ever killed a politician's husband?
Yeah, that
or
too.
Wife? Probably don't tell us. Tell the police. But, you know.
Wait, you could tell us too.
Yeah, tell us too, but also make sure you tell the police.
Yeah.
Thank you everyone for listening. We have a Twitter. We have an Instagram. We follow us on Spotify. Get us on that YouTube. Do it. Listen, watch, and read what we have to say because it's semi-interesting.